Everybody, my name is buzzycombs and welcome to the final episode on the Lotus SMP Season 2. Today, we are finishing off the season by giving one last tour of my base with some shaders. So, to kick things off, we are going to take a step back and look at my first ever build on the server, which is my base. So essentially, the entire first floor was done entirely in survival, without any planning put ahead of it, and it took me a whopping 11 episodes to finally finish it. When I finally was finishing it up, I got a little bit of help from Cash in the creative world, which included my upper floor and the roof. Right over here, we have a few hegs. I do recall placing pineapples here during the death game, but these other two hegs were added by various other players on the server. And now when we take a step inside, we are greeted by my main entrance. I added some really nice plush carpet, a cute little flower pot here, and my wonderful bee armor, which was gifted to me by Pug during Halloween. Or was it Christmas? I can't remember which holiday it was. Over here, we find myself with my first ever piece of fan art, which was drawn by Scrimbled, and I absolutely adore it, and I cannot get enough of it. It's so cute, and I'm so grateful that you made this for me. On top of that, we do have some more fan art over here, both of which were drawn by Gray the Crafter 7. And funnily enough, I actually got all these pieces within the same week. And then over here, I have situated my jukebox right here because it used to be on the outside and I've finally given it a home. And then of course, we find myself at my kitchen area with this cute little book right here, which is actually a birthday gift from Chespy. And then over here, we have my little storage chest of bricks and whatnot because I really had no idea where else to put it. And then we look up and we are greeted by this beautiful foliage-filled ceiling that I really had a lot of fun making because I really wanted to emphasize on the fact that this home is really rich with life. Now, when we go upstairs, we are greeted by my fourth and final piece of fan art, which was actually made by a fellow Lotus SMP member, Cash. And then over here, we have my enchanting area, which again has a lot of foliage up top, and we also have a couple of Easter egg heads. Here's a skipper head, and then hidden up top is a Jacksathan head, which, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the only two I have from him. And now if we head along this hallway, we find ourselves at my bedroom. Huge thanks to Chespy for helping me to decorate this because when I first started the server, I was pretty rusty at interior decoration and I definitely needed some help with this. We added a couple of bookshelves up here because I really love books, and then down here we added another plush carpet and then a pink bed with a nice beautiful view of the outside. Over here we have a fun little list of every single elytra I have lost this season. Fortunately, after I acquired netherite, I had no more problems with losing my stuff, which I am really grateful for. But Jax had actually given me a million elytras to make sure I didn't lose any more. This one right here, these are actually the wings that Dan gifted me after I lost my elytra to him blowing me up in the death game. But the ones I am currently wearing are courtesy of Pug, once again during either Christmas or Halloween, which I cannot remember. And then if we go over here, we are up on my lovely little balcony, which again gives me a nice view of the outside world, and it's just really cozy up here. And then in here, we have my chest room, which is mostly organized except for this over here and these couple of chests, which have things that I couldn't really figure out where to put them. I did actually put in a bit of effort before this recording to organize everything that I have, at least to the best of my abilities, so everything should be where it's supposed to be at the very least. Over here is just a collection of shulker boxes from a bunch of gifts and so on that I've gotten throughout the season. And then here is my lovely little raffle prize, which is missing the rockets and candy canes because I'm actually almost completely out of those items. And now the next place I would like to explore with you guys is this cute little thing right here. So when I was first trying to figure out how I'm going to get some bees in the area, I realized that having some cute little mailboxes with beehives would be a really cute idea, and it definitely plays a part well. I was planning on doing that everywhere, but I ended up actually not doing it and instead using normal beehives hidden around here and there. And we also have this little thing over here, which is actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's either a pumpkin or a totem of undying, and it got a little Christmas hat during the Christmas season when Seaman and Chespy pranked me. Over here we have our farming area where I have a host of chickens over here with some nice trodden down ground. We have a cozy little chicken coop where they can wander on inside. And then over here we have our nice little cow and sheep pens, which these are actually the first areas I terraformed. Now if we go up over here to this lovely little stairwell, we will find ourselves encased by mud and other such materials before we find ourselves at the Camel Castle. Here in the Camel Castle we have all of my animals, which were all named by some of my wonderful viewers, such as Cammy and Cece, and then my parrots upstairs, which I will show you in a little bit. Down here in the castle, I have some nice little decorations to make my animals feel more at home, such as some cute little cat parkour stations, some bookshelves, and a few flower pots of materials for Cammy to be happy. And then once we go upstairs, we find ourselves in this jungle-esque room made especially for my parrot. So we have Marco, Carrot, and Polo up here. And then, of course, we cannot explore the camel castle without addressing our horse over here. I had actually forgotten to give him his room originally, and then in the next episode, I had added on this little structure because I felt like it fits perfectly for our beautiful Goldie Prankslot, who, for some reason, is invisible. I think that's definitely a bug, probably with my shaders, which, that's fine. Oh, and we cannot forget his little chicken buddy up here, who actually does not have a name. And speaking of chicken buddies, I actually almost forgot to show you guys down here in the sheep pen, we do have a very oddly small sheep named Sheep. So yeah, I can't believe I forgot to show him to you guys. Now, before we continue on the tour, I'm quickly going to go up to my home and sleep away the night, because we do not want any mob spawning in the area. Alrighty, and now with the sun rising on the horizon, we go down here to this peculiar little thing, which, this right here, this is actually a little memento to one of the earlier episodes. I think it was, the episode before the death game. I think it was Impulsive Thoughts, if I'm not mistaken, but correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, this right here, this is a little thing I made for Pineapple to fly through, and the plan was actually to have an Elytra flight course over here, but as you guys can surely tell, I did not have the time for it. So I'm gonna try and see if I can actually fly through this little guy. And I did! Hurrah! And now that I have done that, it is time to bring you on to the next part of this tour. And that is my little farm over here. It's very simple and to the point, with a nice little canopy that hosts some glowberries. It has some room for some wheat, some carrots, and some potatoes, all of which I use to breed all my animals over there. Now, right over here, we have Gang's cute little cottage that he made at some point. It originally used to be over there where the chicken coop is, but it was moved when I was pranked by a handful of people with a duplicate of my home. And inside of Gang's little house, he has his own little cat that we rescued together, and he has this wonderful cursed painting that is a screenshot of me, him, and I forget if it was Spidey or Pineapple, but it was one of the two, and we all sat together like so and took a lovely little screenshot. And then if we take a peek over here, we have my moss generator, now known as the Azalea Factory, which was actually suggested by one of you guys. And inside of this moss generator, we of course have a little storage unit where all the moss is dispensed, a little redstone storage, which has torches instead of redstone right now. This right here is our bone meal generator, which isn't that full right now because I used most of it for the terraforming of my area, and of course the generator itself. If we take a step back outside, however, we are greeted by Serrera, who is bravely guarding this place from creepers and phantoms. And I added a couple of fun little Easter eggs to this build, which include some faces. So one of the faces is over here, which is actually the first one. This one was unintentional, and I thought it looked like Baymax, which I thought was very funny. So if we take a peek over here, we will find ourselves with this marvelous face right here. And of course, we have an upside down frowny face underneath it, and an upside down smiley face on top of it. And then for the last face on this build is this unpleasant looking thing over here, which is kind of like a mixture between a villager and somebody screaming in horror, I think. Whatever it's supposed to be, it's unsettling to say the least. And now that we have covered this right here, we are moving on to the next spot of my base. And my next spot over here is my lovely little market. So my market hosts a variety of shops, one of which being my second ever shop on the server, which is my wooden wares. My wooden wares sells dark oak, which we've apparently sold a lot of, as well as azalea, which we've also sold a lot of, so we don't have any in stock because it's a pain to gather. Next to it is Chesty's fried chicken. It's clucking delicious, which actually does not have any stock, though he had planned to do so eventually. This was built by Rad and Chesty during one of my time lapses a while back. And then to the side of it, we have the light of your life, which if we take a look at my statistics, I crafted 48,911 torches just for it, which I'd say that's pretty impressive. Behind it, we have this cute little delivery, which we did get from Chespy and the Chawas when they stole my tower. It was like a little apology prank in a way. And then over here, we have my decorative shops. This one, which is a little flower stall, and this over here, which is a shop that sells random oggs and eggs. Of course, two of these shops are guarded by Nocturitis and my little cat over here, Comet, both of which were named by the same commenter. And then as the star of the show is my lovely little cherry tree that I custom built. I really like the addition of water around it. I feel like it explains how it's being fed. And then over here, we actually have this little spot right here, which is a dried up riverbed. My idea was that it's a little natural spring that just is running out of water, which is why it's not spilling out at all. And now that we are done with the shopping district, it is time for us to move on to the little caves. This right here is one of the last few builds I made for the season, and it is Timothy's grave. Timothy was slain by Dan during a prank, and he was actually Timmy's impersonator, but we loved him anyways, and so we gave him this little visual. And now right here, this is my lovely little tree cutting area. This is where I farm and collect leaves as well as wood for my shops over there. And then we have this little storage chest over here, which has my entire dark oak stock because I mined out quite a few forests. And then we have this little ladder right here, which I used to climb on top of trees whenever they were too tall. And a little secret little corridor over here, which is led to by a path of honey and bees. We can wander through some very tight foliage and little nooks and crannies to get down into this cave over here. This cave was a birthday gift by Chespy, Jax, and Rad, and it has my lovely little Daisy over here, who is a massive bee that I can ride around and just have a lovely time with. And of course, it hosts a variety of bees who have nestled into the honeycomb where they can live their best lives. This is honestly one of my favorite parts of my area. Even though I didn't build it myself, it's just phenomenal, and it is the best birthday gift I've ever received in Minecraft. Of course, as well as my bee sting sword and my cute little totem on my shoulder. Oh, and I cannot forget about this spot over here. This is a little spot that is very different from the rest of my area because it is a surface of stones and so on, rather than sand or this lovely foliage. The reason I get this is because I feel like being at the little cusp of a hill, it would have been worn down by the sun and the little rain we get, and thus it would have broken the surface down into what it is now. And now that we are done with that, it is time for me to show you one of my favorite things in my area, which is my oasis, which has some runaway turtles, unfortunately. Before I show you it, I'm gonna bring Timmy back really fast because we do not want him to escape too far. Okay, so over here, we have my oasis. I utilized quite a few little things to make this more interesting and feel so full of life. I, of course, added some spore blossoms, which every build needs. I used some coral with trapdoors and water underneath them, and they also simulate some nice little flowers. Each one of these trees was custom built. None of them are clones. They are all built individually and uniquely. And we also have a couple of carrots around, which upon initial glance, you'd probably be wondering, why the heck do you have some carrots around? Why do you want those? Well, I learned that apparently wild rabbits, they walk up to cropped carrots and they actually eat them, which is such a cute little detail. And of course, I wanted to utilize it for my area as a way to feed the little guys. Now, if we go down into the oasis, which I love how it looks with these shaders, it's so pretty, we can find ourselves in this little underwater cave, which we actually have a little spot right here for our turtles to hide out in if they ever want to take shelter from the desert sun. And we can also follow the cave here, which we have this little barrier-esque thing to keep the turtles from coming inside and burning themselves in the fire in here. Now, the star of this room is my nether portal, which I added a little bit of nether leaking through just to make it feel a little bit mystical. And then right here is the true entrance to this cave, which is actually nestled away in some very dense foliage. And then the last area I would like to show you guys is my cute little bee garden over here. This is actually the last build I created, and it hosts a lot of little beehives to give home to my bees. Here we have used some floating spore blossoms, which is made possible by these candles on top of them, and they add a nice little source of light as well as some very pretty particles. Of course, on top of that, we have added a dozen flowers, just so my bees have a lot of variety to pick and choose from, as well as adding a very huge spark of color to this area. And then, of course, we have all of my terraforming. I spent ages doing all of this terraforming. It took me like 3 hours per section, which there are a lot of hours poured into this area, and we can even see the grand scale of it on the map. It might not look like a lot to you guys, but to me, it is massive, and it is actually the first ever terraforming project I have ever taken on. So That makes me ultra proud of it. And now that our tour is over, I would like to wrap things up by heading inside and taking a fun little look at my statistics. Now, I'm not going to read through it all. I'm just going to skim through it and let you guys look at it yourself. But the few things that I do want to look at are actually how many hours I have spent on the server, as well as a couple of my top things. And the amount of time I have spent on the world is 15.64 days, which is wild to me. In terms of my item statistics, I would like to cover my top 3 of everything. So the top 3 items I have mined the most is 53,000 sand, 41,000 dark oak, and 11,000 moss. I have broken 23 fishing rods, 22 shears, and 10 iron pickaxes. I have crafted 48,000 torches, 13,000 coal, which is from me converting a bunch of coal blocks into coal. So I'm not going to count that as a top 3, honestly. 13,000 sticks, which greatly contributed to my torch crafting, and 7,000 oak planks. I have used a netherite axe 53,000 times. I have used a netherite shovel 52,000 times, and cobblestone 35,000 times. I have picked up 65,000 sand, 43,000 dark oak, and 23,000 seeds. I have dropped 16,000 seeds, 3,000 carrots, and 2,000 potatoes. And then in terms of mobs, I think the mob I have killed the most is the Enderman, which I have killed 509 times. I don't even know when that happened. I have no recollection of killing Enderman, but it seems that's the case. And now that my statistics have been removed, it is finally time for me to bid the world farewell. And I will take one last look around from my balcony and just breathe in this moment, because this is the first series I have ever come to a solid conclusion to. And holy cow, is this satisfying, but also very bittersweet, because I'm really gonna miss this season. And now that I've bid it farewell, it is time for me to get some sleep and say goodbye to Lotus Season 2. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!